7 p.m. I'll call Planning Commission meeting to order. We have a roll call, please.
Grant.
Here.
Denkert.
Here.
Gavio.
Here.
Gretzky.
Here.
Matthias. Bosco John.
Here.
Split.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Sorry, Mark. That's all right.
Take a pick on seconds here.
Mark.
Going alphabetical, you'll rotate around.
All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Let's see, is there a motion to approve meeting minutes from February 18th meeting?
I'll move to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? None, all those in favor of approving the minutes from February 18th, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those are approved. So the first item tonight is an extraterritorial CSM for North 8804 Douglas Street. Is there any issues with legal or administration on this CSM?
Nothing from legal.
I don't believe they are here. This is for brewer heating, and simply to separate the business from the residents on the parcel. So as you just can see, it's probably better on page 2. There's lot 1, which will be the whole house, and then lot 2 would be the business. So no issues.
I'll make a motion to approve the extraterritorial CSM for N8804 Douglas Street.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the extraterritorial CSM for N8804 Douglas Street, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Next is a site plan for Ripon College at 516 Congress. Is anyone with Ripon College here?
There's a team representing Ripon College as well
All right.
as the design team.
Yeah, so I can just start quick here, sorry. So this is a site plan for 516 Congress. In your packets, you should have the plan. I can kind of just pull up some of it here, but this would be for the reconstruction of the Merriman House on the site. This is institutional zoning, so there is no requirement for conditional use. This is a permitted use on the site as a dormitory or a living facility for a college campus. Certainly go ahead, take over if you want to talk about the project. They have the plans. I can try to project them if you need anything specific, or I can sort of pull this up and you can go up there and just watch out for the cords.
I'll point out a couple of sheets that I needed for the conversation, but I'll try to keep it fairly brief. But my name is Peter Beeson. I'm with Kaler Slater, the architect for the project. This is my colleague Chase with Rettler Engineering, civil engineer and landscape architect. So this project, so Ripon College, you guys are all probably familiar with it, but the Merriman fraternity, a bit of an institution, unique fraternity in that Ripon College is the only location in the country where they have that fraternity. So the original house, which was demolished but was originally built in the 40s and starting to be used as a fraternity at that time, had been used for 70 years. Until it was demolished, and we are looking at this opportunity to provide or build a new building, very much in the keeping of the original, in terms of, like you mentioned, it's the zoning and the permitted use, as well as the general size of the building is keeping in line with what was there. Just looking to make tweaks and things that slightly modernize it and make it appropriate with current building codes and desires of the fraternity that maybe weren't incorporated in the original building many decades ago. If you go to the architectural site plan after the civil drawings,
Just tell me when to stop.
a couple more sheets down, I'll tell you when to stop, but basically the house is sited, yep, this one right here. This house is in generally the same spot that the original one was. A couple of tweaks to the overall massing, but we are trying to maintain some of the character and things that are important to the fraternity in terms of having that east side of the site being a large lawn that allowed them to host outdoor activities in support of the fraternity and the mission. And then there's an existing parking lot that we're largely keeping the new proposed parking lot in the same general area. And then there's, it's a fairly heavily wooded site, and so by keeping some of those, what was there before in the same spot now, is also allowing us to keep some of the mature trees there to help reinforce the legacy of this has been a long-standing kind of institution within an institution on this site. And then if you go down to the, probably the last sheet, which would be the elevations. Again, keeping with the theme, we have the architectural design and style of the building. The original house was Georgian, colonial architecture, and so we are keeping that on theme with the, the detailing and the aesthetics of this building. We are, there's an effort to maintain some of the importance of the locality here in Ripon, and so where possible, some of the materials that we're using, in particular for the elevation, for the exterior stone, looking for locally sourced products and options that we can have it be kind of located in Ripon, but then also ingrained in the community here in central Wisconsin. And then, as I mentioned earlier, this is a kind of a new chance to refresh and bring a new construction up to code, but then also, so this building will obviously be built to code, but then there are certain areas where the Merriman has specifically wished to go above and beyond for the needs of the fraternity, but looking at things like energy efficiency, going above and beyond in a few areas, because what they really do want is this building to last for an additional 70 years and even further beyond that. So there have been steps we've taken in terms of the design and the construction type to ensure it has a lasting legacy. This is a forever home for them, and making sure we have good energy efficient building systems, a very robust envelope that allows it to perform very well for the long term. And that's kind of where I'll pause on the architecture, and then I'll let Chase speak to any kind of civil and landscape design.
Maybe you want to just scroll to the layout plan, C300, keep going, keep going, keep going. Probably about 3 more sheets. One more.
400.
There you go. See,
300.
So yeah, Peter covered it pretty well, but really it's a replacement of the original facility. The parking lot effectively is being replaced in its original location, adding some EV charging as well as required ADA parking for the facility. Existing drive location is being maintained. One thing I do want to highlight is the redeveloped sidewalk. If you've been on site, you've noticed that's somewhat of an interesting scenario. The redeveloped sidewalk will meet ADA slope requirements out to the right-of-way. And with this kind of being the end of the road, so to speak, in this area, it is just served by the sidewalk to the east. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, while we're on the topic of kind of sidewalk and electric cars and kind of the accessibility side of things,
Yeah.
One thing that I always like to request to be specifically put in on site plans is a bike rack or some sort of bike parking. If that could be included for any revisions, that would be appreciated.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll look at anticipated number of residents and utilize that to come up with numbers, but I think that's feasible to add some other values, absolutely. Especially with who's going to be using the facility.
Yes,
Yes,
yep.
I remember copying that. Thank you, good point. Anything else before I continue? Okay. Yeah, from a layout standpoint, again, really redeveloping the existing, the previously developed site. There's a patio on the north side with a covered, I guess what we should call that area.
Like a solid pergola or?
yeah, pergola area, as well as just sidewalk access around the south, west, and north side of the building. Other than that, not too overly complicated from a site layout standpoint. Utility-wise, it's not shown here, it's on another sheet, but utilities will obviously be served from Congress Street to the south by both sanitary and water and municipal utilities, anticipating those connections. From the city standpoint, other important features, I think if you can go just 2 sheets down, we'll talk landscaping very briefly. One more, sorry. Thank you. Again, with this being, I want to say industrial, institutional zoning, looked at those landscaping requirements. Obviously, it's a point system here in the city of Ripon, so we are exceeding the point requirements throughout the site. It's a mixture of maple, I'm going to forget, maple, and there are ready oaks out there, so we played off that with some additional oak trees. And then foundation plantings pretty much around the entire perimeter of the house and some landscape areas. So that kind of covers the landscape. And I think from a site standpoint, that's most of it, unless there's any additional questions.
Sunset maple, juniper, red oak,
There, that's it.
Korean boxwood, dogwood, tufted hairgrass, woodward, arborvitae, and dwarf European cranberry bush.
Thank you. I'm a civil
Can you say
engineer,
no
not a
language?
landscape architect. Any other site-related questions, or is Peter, I don't know if you have anything else?
No, and
Question, do the parking stalls, are they reflective to the number of beds in the house? Or are they more or
It's
equal?
really maximizing the space that is there. I think it'll probably be pretty similar to what's currently there. Maybe a slight reduction, just based on correct size parking stalls.
Yeah, again, follow up on that was my question of how many, students are we expecting to live in the building? Like, what is the limit of occupancy?
sure, so there's kind of the number of students that are current Merriman chapter members. Then there's the number of beds that we know we can support day one. And then some of the rooms are planned to be able to be convertible, like a single to a double, based on membership. So I think that if everything were to be converted to the higher occupant bed count, I believe we're somewhere around 42 students, but it might be 41 students plus a RA. And then I know we have other entourage, but we do have owner's rep representing Ripon College if there are client-specific questions that you guys have.
Is that, Adam, is that okay with, if we have 42 people staying there with 20 spots for parking? Is there, or roughly 20, I don't know if it's 19 or...
I don't remember the count exactly, but I believe we are exceeding the zoning requirement for,
They're
It is-
exceeding the zoning
It
requirement.
is more
Yes.
than enough
Yes.
then, okay.
And the college does have many other parking lots.
Yeah, but everybody brings a car to school now, so it seems that way. Okay, that's good.
On that subject, I assume they meet all their
Yeah,
requirements.
so we've had building
Setback.
inspection and MSA engineering just look at the civil design of it, and then I reviewed the setbacks. So they're meeting all required setbacks for the institutional zoning. Landscaping, they have exceeded all requirements. Civil and utility-wise, everything was reviewed and checked off and given a go-ahead by MSA. Parking was reviewed, no issues in terms of they've exceeded the requirements and aren't really changing anything there from a total, kind of area impervious surface stormwater management. They are not exceeding the requirements for stormwater management. They are under the threshold. So a comprehensive review, feedback to the college's team here. Designing it, there's no outstanding issues from our review that would come to be a concern based on the ordinances that would be applied to the project.
Thank you. Anyone would like to make a motion to approve the site plan?
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan for Ripon College at 516 Congress Street.
I'll second.
Any further discussion, questions? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the site plan for Ripon College at 516 Congress Street, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
You bet.
All right, next item is a public hearing in regards to rezoning application put forth by Ripon Area School District to rezone the 9 listed parcels from residential to institutional. Do you want to give a brief summary of the project before we open the public hearing? Or it's really a straightforward just rezone? so-
Yeah, exactly. I don't,
All right, so
don't have a great story to tell.
we'll
We're here
come-
to answer questions.
we'll come back to you after the public hearing.
Wonderful.
Make notes of what they're bringing up if we have questions for you on those.
Fantastic.
So the time is now 7:16. I will open the public hearing. Once again, is everyone who wants to speak signed up? Anyone want to add anything? All right, so at the public hearing, please keep the discussion relevant to the topic at hand. State your name and address for the record before you start, and you'll have 3 minutes. Once you state your name, I'll start the clock. So the first person up is Sue Blodzik.
I'm Sue Malogic, 646 Aaron Court. I'm in the Aaron Court that's adjacent to the property but across the railroad tracks. My main concern question is in regards to doing residential to institutional, what does that really entail in regards to the city ordinances? Do they follow them? Are they responsible in regards to fulfilling what needs to be done in the residential area for the school system to be part of that area?
Okay. And pause this here. So at the hearing here, we're going to take notes as to what your questions are, and we'll try to address them when we come out of the public hearing.
The public, right, okay. So basically what I'm questioning is then the meaning of the institutional. Does it follow then the city ordinances in regards to what they can have and how they can erect it and go from there? And then just how they fit into the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and next is Paul, I can't read the last name row here.
Taverdi.
Taverdi?
Yep. I'm Paul Taverdi, 650 Aaron Court. Some of my concerns are, backing what Sue was just asking, along with the number of animals this barn is gonna have. Is it gonna be 7 by 24? Are they gonna ship them in, ship them out? Is there gonna be a farmyard for these animals to wander around and do their business and just wander around like you see on a real farm? And what about water runoff? So you have the barn up now and there's animals out in the property and all of a sudden it's raining. Where's that water gonna go? Is it gonna run toward our houses, into the school property? And the other thing, noise. We all know animals make a lot of noise. The city passed the chicken ordinance, but there's nothing to stop chickens from making noise. I asked one of the previous council members, they knew nothing about it. Basically, chickens aren't supposed to make noise, but they do. And I just don't want all these animals to come in, and all of a sudden you wake up in the morning, you hear chickens, and you hear cows mooing, and all this other stuff going on. Is it just gonna be cows? But I was focusing on cows because the article said somebody was gonna show the kids how to dehorn animals, which I'm not a farmer, but I thought, well, that'd be kind of cool to see, What else are they gonna have? They're gonna have lamb and sheep and everything else. That was basically it.
All right, thank you. Jackie, thank you.
My name is Jackie Taverdi, and I'm also at 650 Aaron Court. That was my husband. And I want to know why we're even having this hearing to rezone. I mean, it's been the way it was for a long time. Is it specifically because the school wants to put this barn, this very large barn, in the back there? How many residential lots are being rezoned to institutional? And again, as what Sue says, is institutional got to follow city ordinances, or do they not have to? And once they have this rezoned for institutional, does that give them the right to put anything they want back there? I mean, this is backing right up to our houses. We pay city taxes. We want to live in a city, and we don't want to live out in the country or on a farm, you know? And so we don't want it in our backyard, you know? We don't want it that close to us, so, or whatever else as an institutionalized property can be put there, you know? So we're not fully getting enough information about what this is all about, as far as the rezoning itself, and as far as if it's rezoning just for that barn, you know, as far as how's that gonna be handled? Nobody said who's gonna, is it, you know, 24/7 care, is it year-round, or are animals brought in and out, or, and that'll be a whole nother hearing, I understand, but, which I will be at, but, you know, and why can't the school utilize buses to take kids that want that education, because that's a good education to have, to the farms around here? I mean, there's lots of farms around here that would probably gladly, you know, cooperate with that, you know, so, basically, it's like, why are we rezoning this to start with?
Thank you. Next is Lisa, is that
Rowan.
Rowan?
Yep, I'm at 656 Hilltop Lane. So, yeah, I'm kind of offshooting a little bit on my neighbors, but one question I have would be, along with the ordinance and following city ordinances for residential versus institutional, what kind of exemptions would potentially institutional have related to ordinances? Just like what Jackie had mentioned, what kind of due diligence has been maybe discussed or explored when it comes to specifically the barn activity? Just because I specifically know like 3 or 4 farmers that they would love to have additional helps and services and they don't have it. And so it would just be interesting to see how could we partner locally, because Ripon seems to be a city that really likes to support each other and each other's businesses and efforts. So just curious about the due diligence on that end. What other models is this project maybe being based off of specifically? And again, I realize that a lot of this is just simply rezoning institutional versus residential. However, like in talking about this farming kind of, or the agriculture, I should say it's more agricultural in efforts. What other models is it being based off of? Because I did some search and it just doesn't seem like this is something that's maybe frequently done with school districts. So I'm just curious, is this like a pilot model, or is this based off of other school districts' efforts? And I think, you know, for the city of Ripon, I would say that my biggest concern would be that financial sustainability of this. It's one thing to build this project, it's one thing to do something new, and I think that it's a great, any educational opportunities for students can be a benefit. However, I'm starting to feel like as a taxpayer, like at what point, or is it falling back on taxpayers? So those are my questions.
All right, and last, Ron Watson.
Logic 646 Aaron. My question is, 2 years ago, the high school wrestling team wanted to put a building out there for wrestling room, sports complex, and we were told couldn't be done because of the water drainage. So my question is, now all of a sudden, how is the water drainage solved so it can be rezoned industrial and something built there? I mean, if one can't do it, how does the other one get to? That's my question.
Thank you. All right, would anyone else like to speak at the public hearing? One last time, would anyone else like to speak at the public hearing? Hearing no one else, I will close the public hearing at 7:25. And I will actually start by setting expectations that tonight we are discussing the rezoning of the properties. We are not immediately discussing the building of a possible barn or whatever the project is defined as. This hearing is specifically for the rezone of the property. So, if anyone would like to start discussion, or if you would actually like to address some of those questions before we start our discussions.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So, is it customary to stand? Can I sit?
It's entirely okay.
I mean, this is my first time.
It's a small room.
Yeah, all right, so I'll just stay seated. So my name's Ron Rivard. I'm the superintendent for the Ripon Area School District. Thank you for having the hearing, and thank you for inviting us to be here. I may need some help with some of the questions to remember all of them, but a few that stand out to me. One is the ordinance piece. I don't know how to answer those.
If we want to take a step back.
Yeah.
If first you want to address why are you seeking the rezone?
Oh, well, we are seeking the rezone because we think it's efficient because we have residential property butted up against institutional property and wanted to have all of it be the same. And secondarily, it is to provide an option for us to explore the creation of a greenhouse / animal shelter on our property. We looked at that as a project previously, and that the area that was already zoned institutional that could support that had some underground sewer considerations and other things that made it not possible for that to be a building site. So we looked at other possible places, and when we were having those initial discussions and contacted the city administrator to say, hey, we're thinking about doing this, we want to make sure we do it the right way, what are things that we need to know about? And one of the things that he pointed out was that with residential zoning, there's nothing that could be done there. So that brought us to this first step of saying, okay, is it possible for us to rezone? And then we would continue to look at potential sites and see, to the question about soils, to take a look and see if that is feasible or not. And if the last 3 days proved anything, is a lot of water is settling there right now. We know that, that's obvious. So, but that would all be done as we see it. If the zoning is something that is able to take place and be approved, then we take a look at what are our options for building a structure. So that's what brings us here today. So thank you for the redirect.
And so, again, off topic for tonight, you're still in the design and planning phase for the barn project. It's not 100% certain.
There is no approval from our board for a project. We're trying to be as pragmatic as possible, and for us, first step is rezoning. After that, then it's bringing it back to our board to say, okay, what do the plans look like? What are you thinking to do? And there's a lot of other steps yet. Yeah. It would be premature to say that we know we're going to do a project to exactly this scale and these specifications, et cetera, at this point.
And one question for me is,
Yes.
is it in your intent or a possibility that in the future you will join these parcels with the rest of the campus so it all becomes one parcel?
I think that would make the most sense, yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, one thing I'm trying to understand, with our lovely zoning code, Adam and Bud, when we're talking about institutional, what is the permitted use? What are conditional uses? Anything else that we should be considering?
I will give a summary here, right? So you have a map, and there are a number of parcels. The principal parcel that the district is on, or school district on, and the surrounding area here, there are institutionally zoned properties owned by the Ripon Area School District. There are then, as my arrow goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parcels that are, and I believe this one right here, 8, that are, or were houses or something. I don't know the history totally of it, but they were there, and those are a part of this. And then there's this large parcel here that houses some sports fields and a parking lot. So these are the parcels, they're all listed here in question, and don't know why they weren't zoned institutional with the other ones, but they have hung out here for some time. In terms of R1, what are they allowed to do, right? The current zoning regulation for R1 allows for these things: single-family homes, conversion duplexes, churches, rectories, funeral homes as a conditional use, schools and colleges, including dormitories, sororities, and fraternities with a conditional use, museums, libraries, parks, playgrounds with a conditional use, right? Bed and breakfast, supporting accessory structures, accessory dwelling units. You can kind of see here. Nothing in this outside of schools and colleges as a conditional use would be allowed. The only general areas in our zoning code that are institutional are going to be the school district properties. Ripon College is all institutional, and I believe the hospital might be. There might be a couple others that, like the Alliant Energy and some of the city properties are institutional. So when you then look at institutional, the use regulations, uses permitted by right include housing, including dormitories, residence halls, multifamily dwellings, literally what you just approved for Ripon College, right? Administrative and faculty offices, hospitals, clinics, related professional offices, classrooms and laboratories, including facilities for keeping of laboratory animals. Student unions, museums, libraries, you see the list here. Conferences, greenhouses, nature centers, parking lots, so on and so forth. You also have in here outdoor athletic facilities. So, and then conditional uses. So there is a difference, a distinct difference between what's allowed in R1 and what is allowed in institutional. And as you can see from the use of some of the current property, they are used in a fashion that is already more in line with institutional, meaning sports fields, parking lots, things like that, that wouldn't be allowed in R1. So those are the main differences between the two, and these are uses permitted by right. So they would be required to follow all the ordinances, much like the Ripon College example that was provided before you tonight.
And I guess, yeah, so following up on that, I guess, and Lud, maybe in your view, just because it's mentioned, and even though maybe it's not consideration right away today, because I don't know if it's a permitted use or not, but this example of barn animals, whatever animals they might be, would you even consider that as falling under, like, the permitted use for, or would you not consider that under there? 'Cause that's where I
think it's a gray area.
Yeah.
As I read the permitted uses, the definition of laboratory animals.
Because I mean, I don't know, when I think of it, I'm thinking like a
animals.
science lab or something
Exactly.
like that, but not like an outside.
Generally, keeping of farm animals, I don't think is clearly set forth. Now, maybe somebody can enlighten me if they thought that was, but I don't know that they're that far into the analysis. But when I look at the code, I don't see per se the keeping of farm animals as part of what is in our code as a permitted use. And whether that's an oversight or whether that's intentional would be an issue that would have to be addressed going forward. So clearly greenhouses are called out.
Makes sense.
And laboratory type settings where you'd be in a position of examining animals or animals for science purposes, would seem to be covered.
It doesn't seem like the keeping of animals on the
Yeah,
property
I
doesn't.
don't,
Right.
I don't read the current grouping. I don't know, Adam, if you've looked at this specifically, but that's my initial reaction. And then under uses permitted by conditional use.
There's only one.
There's only one currently provided, so.
And then that's how I kind of read it too, and that's why it makes sense to change it to institutional, because it fits the district and stuff. And I kind of just addressing those concerns. I don't see it as a permitted use, and I don't see it as a possible conditional use. Now, we are revamping the whole zoning code, so that very well could change, but at least at current face value, it's not an issue to me to change it from residential to institutional for all the parcels, knowing that. So thanks, Len.
And then I'd just like to directly answer some of the questions from the public hearing, whether they have to follow our ordinances. The answer is absolutely yes. They do have different ordinances that they are classified under, but they do have to follow the ordinances on the books. But it is a different set of ordinances that they follow. To that same question, there are no exemptions, except with a few conditional uses could be considered an exemption, but it is part of the ordinance as well.
I guess just one more, since the stormwater, like management plans, how does that tie in for institutional or the city ordinance generally?
We have a general conditions ordinance regarding stormwater management. So if they exceed a certain area, they have to, they have to do stormwater management. Generally speaking, it's all done through the civil work of submitting the plans to get any building permits or any improvements on the site. So it's land disturbance. And if they go over 20,000 square feet, stormwater management may kick in. I think that's the number, but yeah.
Yep.
So I just want to touch on what Luke said. If it is rezoned to institutional, they cannot, the school district cannot keep horses, cows, sheep, anything on that property. According to the ordinance now.
So you have your permitted uses, right? They have talked about a project that is a greenhouse slash, farm animal or FFA building. I don't know exactly, they have not come forward with here is a building and here is a use, right? But if it's a classroom or it's a greenhouse, it is a permitted use. Is there gray area over the keeping of animals? Yes, but are these considered lab animals or are they considered farm animals? And that's a distinction that will have to be made in their plan or within the ordinance to determine if that meets a permitted use or is not allowed. So generally speaking, from just public, what they're talking about, they may be halfway there, they may be 75% of the way there, they may not be all the way there, or there may need to be revisions to the ordinance to allow it, or other oversight regarding that, or just refinement of the plan. But we're kind of speaking hypotheticals because we don't have a plan, but in terms of the appropriateness of the site and the appropriateness of the use, generally speaking, this is a complementary use to the existing parcels they own, as it is the same zoning, so.
The concern that the people have is it's not so much zoning it institutional, but what they can do after it's zoned institutional. And I'm sure the gray area is what is scaring people right now. There's a lot of, I have questions, how long are they gonna stay?
Yeah.
What's the waste pickup?
Yeah.
Is there gonna be feed stored there that's gonna attract varmints? Is there gonna be a smell? Who monitors the length of stay on that animal? How many are allowed? 1, 5? And that's what I think is the concern.
I would say if that project were to proceed, we would have to get legal opinion on exactly what's the difference between a lab animal and a farm animal just being kept in the school grounds. And there's a lot, like Adam said, a lot more work. For that plan to come to fruition, a lot more work has to be done on both parties.
Right.
But it's good discussion.
It is.
And it's certainly relevant to understanding what institution might allow. And that, you know, Luke made a good point that, is it in there or is it not in there? And when Adam is discussing laboratory animal kind of circumstances, there may be an argument. And the keeping of animals temporarily is not addressed. So permanency is part of the discussion as well. So if an animal would come in from the farm during the day and leave at night, that may be something that fits within the classroom setting, as opposed to turning it into an agricultural barn.
But like I said, both parties have work to do.
For sure, and I don't want to get too far ahead because I know that we're talking about zoning, but to address specific questions about the animals that would be there, we're not looking to create a farm. We don't want to do that. We don't want long-term large livestock animals anywhere. I can assure you of that. We've talked about that at our committee level meetings and other pieces. The educational piece for us is really what we're looking at, and that might be a newborn calf coming to be there so students can learn how to care. Students who are interested in agri-science can learn how to care for a newborn animal, for example, might be one. Longer term, you know, like that animal might be there for a week and then they would go. But a full-grown horse, a full-grown cow is not gonna, they would come, and please, Sam, add something if I'm missing it. So Sam is our agri-science teacher. So if a horse were to come, a full-grown horse would be trailered in, and they would do that learning in the day and show how to groom a horse, for example, if you were gonna show it. Or if a full-size cow was there, it would be for a day. We're not looking, nor are we interested in having to deal with waste pickup or creating smell or doing any of that. It is truly about the learning piece, and one of the more exciting things that Sam has shared with me is being able to contact local farmers and try to coordinate the birthing of an animal so students can learn and see what that looks like as well. So we are, I know that's many steps down the way, but I think those were a lot of the questions that I heard, so I wanted to address those just directly with all of you today, so you know those are considerations that we are thinking about, and we do not want to, there will not be a pasture in that area. Everything will happen confined inside of that building and will be temporary at its longest with those larger animals.
Going off of what Ron had spoken about, Sam Pincher, for those of you that don't know me, I'm the agri-science teacher at the high school. You know, one thing first and foremost, I own my own farm. I'm not trying to run a secondary farm at the high school. I don't have the time to do that. What this is truly about is bringing in animals, perhaps even the animals that I have. You know, they come in the morning, I teach, they come home with me at night. So they're only coming in for a day for the most part. Ron had given an example of a calf. That truly is, if anything is there long term, that's what we're talking about, is like a week or two. As far as some terminology, I just want to make sure we're all clear with. We are been using the word barn. It's actually an animal science learning center. So it's not a permanent barn. It is truly for lab animals that come in temporarily. I think similarly to when I went to college in South Dakota, we had an animal science lab that we went out to. That's what this would be. So it's about temporary animal housing so we can do those labs with those students.
I had just a note on the financial responsibility of the city in this project. As far as I'm understanding it, there is none, because it's all wholly owned by, all the properties are already owned by the school district. They're already paying taxes on that property. A rezoning doesn't change any of that burden for anyone. So from a dollars and cents point of view, a zoning change is just what under the ordinances is allowed right now, and what in the future is is the city, is that neighborhood, are we aiming to have there? An institution is, the college, churches. Actually, churches, I think, are usually under a separate, but they could be under institutional. That's just kind of, when you look top down, where are things within the city? What is that land set and used for? And then what is permitted on it? And that's where then the ordinances come in to lay that out specifically. Or sometimes, as we find out, maybe not quite as specific as we want it to be. But that's where we're at right now, is just kind of planning future use, current use allowed, and making those changes so that everyone understands what it can be. I certainly don't expect the Ripon School District to be planning residential housing in any of these lots, because I don't think that's the business you're in. You're in the business of teaching, so it would not make sense in any case to keep those areas marked R1. They should probably be moved to something else. And obviously, as a school district, the institutional zoning, I almost said industrial, the institutional zoning is going to be the best fit of that.
I also just want to make two comments on, particularly the ones on our map is mark number 1, which is a larger field to the southeast. Currently, their use for it is, in an R1 district, is not permitted, outdoor sports field. So it certainly should be institutional to align with its current use. And my second point is, if they do plan on joining these properties with the rest of the school, then they will have to be rezoned to institutional to do so.
And adjoining those properties, this is going to step back slightly to more CSM and property lines, but in most cases, we would see those property values for those parcels increase because the school would be considered an improvement on those properties.
School is tax exempt no matter what.
Oh, the school's tax exempt.
So like city property, its value is 0.
Shucks. Stinks for us taxpayers. But at least we have a good school.
I agree with that.
One more.
Go ahead.
And I don't think it's applicable, but with any sort of keeping of animals and stuff, there wouldn't be any sort of licensing requirements under the animal code of our ordinance, probably, if it's a permitted use.
Temporary. I think the scientific classroom setting,
Yeah.
it's not that they're bringing animals into the city just to bring animals into the city.
And I like housing them like dogs and cats.
Yeah, where you have to,
Okay.
no, I do not believe in that, and from their presentation, which varies a little bit from the language that they had given, is relevant, and it is, I think, as everybody around the table has identified, it's a next consideration, but it's an important one for everyone in this room to understand. There is an ordinance, and the ordinance does have words, and Luke picked up on it, but I think the scientific classroom laboratory language is the only one that leads us into the keeping of animals for any period of time related to the institution of a school, which is what we're discussing. So I think there's clarifications. I think some of that's been brought forward. I think the idea that it could fall within that category is really the issue moving forward, if they move forward in that direction. But tonight, it's about what is the best, highest, proper zoning for the real estate. That is what is before the plan commission this evening.
Yeah, and I think it ties in well. My only other follow-up, and maybe this is my last one for you, Led. So we're changing the zoning code as we're talking about now. If they don't put any sort of animals or stuff on there, which doesn't seem like it's happening anytime soon, and then all of a sudden the zoning code changes and that use is taken away from the institutional zone, then they wouldn't be able to do it because it's not like they were a non-conforming use by the time the new zoning code would be in place, or would they be grandfathered in if it's changed? Regardless of whether they're using it for laboratory or not.
Yeah, and I think your question is legitimate. Grandfathering in is a real concept. That's an argument that I have a use for my property, you can't take it away. When I had it, I could do this, but I don't see the language of this code being permissive. I think it's limited. Otherwise, I think your point would be well taken.
Okay, no.
Let's say it's in there now,
Yep.
that you can have a barn and you can keep animals, and then we're gonna try to take it away. They could make the argument,
Yep.
we're grandfathered.
Yep. Thanks, Lynn.
Yep.
Just one last question for Len. So you're saying that even with the gray area
Yep.
for institutional, you feel they could have a area, a science area, and bring in a cow, a calf, whatever?
For classroom, laboratory, I think that's the terminology
Yeah, okay.
that's here.
But you
I
feel that-
I think it's reasonable to argue that laboratory animal could include larger animals that you are looking at, watching, observing. The leap, I think, was, can they keep them there?
Right. And the number, I don't know.
Exactly, and keeping, I think, is the key, and it doesn't say keeping of animals. It's connected to a classroom
And specific
and laboratory activity. Classroom, laboratory activity is, I think, the definition. And so the idea that it becomes an FFA barn, that they keep animals for the fall or the spring, is not included under this language. At least that's my reading.
Any more discussion, or would anyone like to make a motion?
Fine, I'll do it. Oh, no. We'll be here all night looking at each other. Yeah, I'll move to, is it an approval or recommendation? Does it go to the council?
Recommendation.
Recommendation.
So I move to recommend to the common council the rezone application of residential to institutional for the listed properties.
And I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I'm just gonna say that without more information from the school, it just makes me hard to go ahead with the rezoning part of it from residential to institutional, especially in the lot one. The other 2 through 9, that's a no-brainer. But it just makes it difficult for me.
I will play devil's advocate here for you. Say there's no discussion about that barn ever. Is the best use for that property institutional or R1?
In my mind would be R1. That they could sell it to a developer and they could put lots in there. That, to me, would be taxable money to the city.
Okay.
And yes, they would lose a baseball field and maybe practice football field. I don't know what they do there anymore. But it would still be lots, which would be taxable houses. That, to me, would be the best use for that land.
They'd also lose their parking, which is pretty
Not
important on that backside. Yeah.
Oh,
Lot 1 does include the middle school parking lot.
They could parse it out.
And they're,
yeah.
yeah,
They could,
Well,
they
could parcel the parking lot off and sell that
and then
vacant land to a
rezone the parking
developer,
lot.
which would be the best use of the land.
That'd be a unique decision by a school, but.
Well, everybody needs
It
money.
happens, yep, it happens.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'd like to take a roll call vote on the motion to recommend to the council the rezoning of the 9 listed properties for the Ripon Area School District.
Grant,
Yes.
Dankert,
Yes.
Davio,
Yes.
Kretzky,
yes.
Bosco John,
Yes.
Split.
No.
Recommendation carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all for coming.
And if you proceed with that project, we have some discussions.
Certainly do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, appreciate it.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for your comment, thanks for coming.
There's still more meeting.
We don't get to leave.
No, you don't want to stay for the next part. All right.
You don't want us to talk.
You want to leave for that one.
Okay. Thank you, yes, we will.
All right. Moving on to rezoning code update discussion.
Cool. So take it away. Good to see y'all again. I've learned after the last 2 cycles, I'm typing notes versus chicken scratching this time, because that was a battle. So here's how I'm gonna tee it up, here's how I'm gonna approach this. Passed along the materials to Adam and Attorney Wertz. May I call you Lud as
You
well?
can, you absolutely can.
We did forward it out as well.
His wife calls him.
She just did. I passed along the materials that were discussed in this meeting to Adam and Lud last week. In my email to them, I kind of outlined, hey, boom, 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 here's what we chatted about. The last plan commission, those desired changes that we saw, and a couple things that Adam brought up, saying, I think we should touch this as well. I'm gonna roll down kind of my list in terms of what we had brought up last time, how I changed it. If we need to dive in, we can dive in. Want to be respectful of your time, because I know the first couple items were heavy hitters, so.
It's only 8. John's got the whole night booked up with this.
Pencil it right out.
We should have scheduled it somewhere else, like a place with refreshments or something.
That would, Adam sometimes supplies
No, I don't.
water.
Yeah.
That's what I
Could've got
meant.
cookies or something.
So, in a nutshell, just kind of starting to go down. So from our February 18th discussion, in definitions, there was, I'm referring to my old page numbers, which, accepting those red lines, maybe it's on a different page now, but that page 6, we had that discussion of, hey, conditional use permits that desire, still just keep them at plan commission. We said, yes, let's just keep those at plan commission. Don't need to carry it on to council, because we're gonna have 95% the same conversation, right? The infamous page 9, home occupation definition. We struck it. We just have the residential business activity, a page or 2, or a couple subsequent to that now. Backing up, I said I'm not even gonna speak to, if someone's quote working from home. I know we had discussion on that. I don't think we need to open the door and kind of describe that, because, hey, if it's you working remotely in your home, it's quote a royal we don't care about. It's the idea of, hey, if there's product going out, folks coming in, the parking, situation like that, that's where we don't care, right? So, I'm keep cruising to the page, I think it was about 25, in terms of like the meat, the districts themselves. Our discussion last time, and with Lud's feedback, just in terms of in terms of elimination, that might actually, could make things messier. Instead of eliminating districts, let's just quote, open the door in terms of some uses or how maybe some of those criteria are applied. In that vein, R2 district, quote, back in the code, technically it never left. That B3, that business overlay district, quote, back in the code, never left. One that was removed just from our previous discussion was I2, the industrial 2 district, and that was because we didn't have anything zoned in the city as I2. So that was one that we could say sayonara to, and it wasn't a challenge.
I do have a question on the R2.
Sure.
I don't remember the discussion about leaving that in the code, that we're kind of combining 1 and 2 together.
We had, our discussion
was to basically move away from an R2, right? But kind of swing R2 into R1.
But keep it.
So everything that's allowed in R2 is going to move to R1.
R1 and R2 are going to be basically the same.
So R2 is redundant in case,
Yes.
unless we want to split something off again.
Unless you want to split something off, but the idea was not to
we're leaving-
remove that, because you're then automatically saying to R2s you don't exist anymore, so what do you come?
So as opposed to redrawing the map.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
and we would have had to send the letters to those
Yes,
folks,
you would
right,
have to
saying,
tell
hey,
them
you're-
they're
and
no
then it would
longer
have been
anything. Yeah,
Okay.
you make work for nothing. Make work for nothing.
Very good.
Is it called inclusion by definition?
Yes.
Okay. keep moving. Y'all are gonna be excited about this. From page 25 to page 46. How about that?
Yeah, how long is this document?
We had, well, that's the 126 page red line one. We got it down to 107, which I'm reasonably
More, yeah.
pleased with. So, we had discussions about, hey, there's some parcels near some of our industrial areas. I don't know if that map is still up to the extent it helped folks, but we had some residential homes things that had industrial zone classification. Kind of our debate, our chat on that, and we said, probably makes sense to quote leave them as is, as that industrial zoning, because we don't know in terms of, in the future, destruction, something else going on. Does it make sense for, an adjacent industrial owner purchasing that property, CSM, other activities, keeping that flexibility, kind of there.
If the house floats away this week.
Then the waterfront zoning kicks in, that's another issue.
The page 51, there was, I had reference to, there was, I think it was 20, 38, 50 is the section, that outdoor storage. And I said, it's a nice clause, I like it, but can we kind of, can we leverage it, can we use it elsewhere? A cleaner place elsewhere, kind of more all-encompassing, and I'll speak to that in another minute or two. Page 78, floodplain. This was,
Don't touch.
yeah, that was Adam's like, hey, content, don't touch it, DNR will throw a fit. That was just one or two title changes. For example, this section is administration. Redlined it to floodplain administration, that way it was clear.
We don't gotta run that by the DNR, do we? A title change? It's not substantive at all.
No, I'm not worried about it, but it's just,
Yeah.
Other,
Don't touch it.
other discussed changes, two of them, one which Mark will be very pleased to hear about. From my PDF of the permitted conditional uses chart, that kind of attachment 3, your feedback was taken into account. It was no longer tiny text. It's now a couple pages longer, but it's a size at which you can read it.
these, you mean?
In that context, yeah, well, it depends how old or young you are, but it's not as bad as it was. But if you want to, Adam, if you want to control F in there, that roadside stands, we had that quote only in ag. I changed to allow that in the B2 Highway Business District as well. That's on the basis of, hey, we had concerns about permanent, full-time, the door would be open too wide maybe in that situation. Okay, how can we still control that? Only comment, clarifier with Adam would be, hey, the food truck thing. We had briefly talked about it. Are we under that umbrella? Do we have it as a separate item, a use thing that we clarify in that code since we're touching it, we're chatting about it? Thoughts or concerns on that in terms of
I
food
guess,
truck?
I don't know what you think. So did you say it was going to be a permitted use under B3? Is that what we were saying? Or
B2 and A.
whichever one it was.
In-season roadside stands
Yeah.
permitted in ag and permitted in the B2.
Okay, yeah, and I guess on that point, like when you have like food trucks or whatever, like stands for farmers and stuff. I'm just wondering, like, is there a licensing or something that should be required too on that should be incorporated outside, of course, a zoning perspective, specifically like food trucks, if they're just rolling up, somewhere random.
And my use of the quote in-season definition then on food truck then is a little,
Yeah, how communities deal with food trucks. Our community has not passed any ordinance or regulation requiring them to register, to be permitted by the city, or any zoning requirements of where they are. They generally are allowed on private property. We see them mostly in the B2 district, here and there. We also see them at like events, right? Like they come in for events. We do not allow them on public property, so they can't set up in parks, can't just set up downtown and park. in a space. So generally speaking, if we want to address that issue, I would say it would be through licensing and permitting, not necessarily through zoning.
I guess, in your perspective, is it a, like, something that we should be of concern of, like, food trucks popping up or stuff, or just like,
Honestly-
yeah, I'm just like, I don't know what the
Honestly,
issue
right
is.
now, you know, there's been a couple isolated incidents where somebody like wants to, there's an incident where a coffee truck parked downtown because there was a bridal party getting ready, and they're like, these are my friends, and they came and they started, you know, had a coffee thing, and it was, no, like, that was like, never again, you know. Main Street kind of handled that one. We very rarely see it. I mean, maybe at a car place, like a car parts store. There's one that came for a while. I don't see an issue necessarily right now. You know, I just don't. I think if we want to go there and we see a bigger problem, we can address it with, you know.
I presume there's a distinction between a food truck and like a canteen truck, like Alliance Laundry occasionally has a break time coffee truck show up for a building site, will have a lunch truck.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. It's on private property, right? And it's like, again,
it's like temporary too.
It's temporary. It's not there all the time, right? Like what we're seeing is temporary uses. We're not seeing somebody come every day and set up a taco truck in, you know, O'Reilly Auto Parts, right? It happens maybe once in a while cycling through. So the thing we would regulate is just the, you know, time and also making sure that they're licensed, right? From like a county or state level, right?
Yeah.
So
That feels like one of those things you don't want to, like, you don't touch it so that you don't encourage or make people think that, oh, you've
Thanks,
now
Mark. That's
opened you've opened the door, we've put the guidelines in place,
Yeah.
so then.
And then 100 food trucks show up.
Right, and then they're, because I just.
They're all outside Adam's house.
For,
actually.
for our community, I just don't think there's not the drive, there's not the, you know, the market really isn't there besides those events or those one-off things where they're coming for stuff, so.
Out of curiosity, say Ripon Fest wanted to bring in a food truck as opposed to just having a tent for food.
that's what they do.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's
So that's because they're renting the park, we
Yeah.
allow them to have
Yeah.
a food truck on
Yeah.
public property.
Yeah.
Last year there was 6 or 7 of them.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of food trucks.
So for a food truck, rent the park and then put a food truck.
And only non-profit. Generally, we allow, and then they have like to rent the full park. They have to
Carry insurance.
Yeah, there's insurance requirements.
Makes it an event.
I'm just finding a loophole.
Yeah, it's.
No, but I think, and then, if it's not an issue on your side of things, then I don't see an issue with that.
So kind of consensus, food trucks, no need, zoning code.
Not yet.
If it happens, we can.
Yeah, I don't think it's, if it becomes an issue, we deal with it with permitting and ordinances.
Similarly to like tourist rooming houses, right? I think we'd handle like that. When we see more of it coming to fruition or we see a bigger problem, we passed an ordinance that required them be permitted. You know, and it seems to work well enough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something that's necessary to be proactive on, because this, I don't think it's not gonna be an issue.
Next kind of thing under that umbrella, speaking to bike racks, multifamily developments. Language, the clause that I put in there is,
Where are we?
More or less, let me, if you jump to our beautiful Word doc
Back to the red lines.
and do a Control F on site plan, I'm blanking on its section number right now.
Okay, let me search and see where the heck we're going, if I can. Oh my goodness.
Page 84 under land use permit.
Thanks, Mark.
I think. I found site plan. At least one.
Okay. No, that's floodplain. Why won't it let me? Why won't it let me do this?
Pull up.
Okay, there we go, here we go. This will let me do this now. Boom.
So, because I agree with that, so that's where we would try to make that,
Oh, crap.
You got the definition section, Adam.
But it'd be honestly probably 2/3 down there, Adam. Otherwise, if you want to look at, like, quote, bicycle might be a more
Site
efficient
plan
way to
review.
search it.
Okay,
There we go.
here we go.
Probably a page or two subsequent to that. It'd be a red line. There we go. The multifamily building shall provide permanent bicycle parking at a ratio equivalent to 1 bicycle spot, 2 by 6 foot footprint, per one dwelling unit in the development. Excuse me. I teed it up that way because different jurisdictions do it different ways. But in a nutshell, I didn't feel like y'all needed that level of, well, if it's 2 bedrooms or more, we need to have fractional more or less. I thought, hey, in terms of, if it's an 8-unit building, let's have a permanent
So going
rack
off
for
of
8
that,
spots.
what happens when the apartment has individual garage spaces for every unit, like indoor parking? Would they still need the bike rack as well as the garage? Because they could certainly keep their bike in the garage.
Mhm. But to my opinion, that's good and that's valid for a lot of people, but also if you have kids who are using those bicycles, to get them to go and open the garage and put their bicycle away during the summer is detrimental to them using it, so you would rather have them have well, you would rather have them have the place for them to go. But as far as definitions go, that is interesting.
Could the developer say that this 2 foot by 6 foot area is in the garage?
I feel like they could.
I think, and maybe it's just quote my perspective, but from my perspective, I would say, if they want to provide it as a covered amenity, awesome. But we wouldn't, maybe not draw the line there. Maybe a line you'd want to draw, but from my perspective, I was envisioning similar to a school, a municipal building, etc. Is there that permanent facility, that rack where I can throw up, put my U-lock on, and you're kind of good to go if you're a resident of that multifamily building. That's kind of where my head
To
was
that
at.
note, is there a requirement in, say, institutional for the high school or middle school is required to have X number of bike racks?
Top of my head, I didn't see it. No.
No, probably not. Because then you're adding one for a R3 instead of an institutional. I wondered, just in discussions, and I kind of started to think this last time we talked, is that actually something that makes more sense when we're looking at landscaping points, where if a permanent or semi-permanent rack structure is present in landscaping plans, it gives them points that allows them to more easily meet that requirement or additional categories within that.
Would rather see that as opposed to making it mandatory. Because.
Right, and that's where I'm getting with it,
yeah.
because it's something I think is valuable and your residents are going to like that it's there, but I don't necessarily want to, in this definition, say, you must do this, for every X amount of units or whatever it is. But is there a way to incentivize doing it that may make it easier or more attractive for anyone doing multifamily or anyone doing an institutional? Because then, all of our site plans tend to get some sort of landscaping pointage, right? So
I guess maybe a thought that had crossed my mind, Mark, in the context of chatting about Merriman House, would be looking at the landscaping there and your comment of, hey, need to see bike rack. Say, hey, take out one bush and give me a bike rack instead.
That's a great idea.
I think that's
I like that.
I think with that though, I don't know, most of the site plans we see have more than enough in landscaping points, but.
Yeah, so they would then be required to either have a bike rack, or you make the requirement, you gotta have a bike rack, but it's a substitute of
Right.
X amount of
right.
points.
That's what the lines I'm thinking of is like, well, you can take a shrub or two out in play, and put a. I don't know what that.
Your thoughts? I mean, and administrative.
I mean, it's gonna be,
corralling it.
I think you gotta just look at the math of the points and make sure you're applying that to the right districts, right? Because
Right.
just about every district, theoretically, you could say we want bike racks, institutional, industrial, right? Business districts, all of them, you don't wanna force a bunch of ugly bike racks into the community either,
Right, and they can be, they can be in a way, they can be, neglected.
I think the idea of saying there is a requirement in certain developments for bike facilities, it's a slippery slope to start saying you need this amount for this amount of units, because then you have a bike rack that's the size that is big and never had bikes in it, right?
Right.
So maybe it's a size thing, maybe it's a landscaping credit that somewhat makes sense, but you also don't want to start removing green.
Right. To play devil's advocate for the landscaping points, I don't want to plant any bushes so my building is completely surrounded by bike racks.
Well, I think I would put a cap on bike racks.
I was gonna say, I think there would be, because you have a point system, if it's an exchange, you can say substitutable by, or in exchange of, 3 bushes to.
But at the same time, I don't, for a 64-unit apartment building or complex, that's a lot of real estate for a bike.
Right, I don't want
That- that
64
is,
bike racks.
I think the proxy approximately is 12 bikes on certain stalls can fit into quote one regular parking spot. I had an idea in terms of, that 15 where I have that red line, maybe there's a sentence we can put there that then ties us over to the landscaping regulations as they currently exist, and we don't have to touch on them. My thought here is, with regards to that, one line insertion, say something along the lines of applicant, if interested in having, applicant desiring, wanting, blah, bike racks, have a discussion with city staff, whether there can be a trade-off. I don't know if it necessarily needs to be, like, there's one sentence in one spot, just saying, hey, if you want to have bike parking, maybe usurp a bush or X amount of points, have a discussion with city staff about it.
Do you want to make it optional, or do you want to make it required?
Yeah.
And that's really the key here. And if you want to say, we want to see bike facilities at every development that is R3 or zoned this way or whatever, right? Then say it. And give them some freedom. I'm just saying, because you start putting things in there, I mean, not that you want people to just cheaping out and say, here for the bike rack in the corner, right? Big deal.
Yeah, we bought the bike rack.
Yeah,
it's over, it's next to John's.
And then it's a rusty
yard.
pile in 2 years.
I think what we're looking at is trying to get thoughtful design for amenities on the site, right? Like, how do we word that?
That's the problem with this, is it's kind of tied to density.
Yep.
And pretty soon in congested areas, you're gonna be hip deep in this. They're gonna be everywhere.
I mean, so at right now, when it comes to bike racks, like, is there anything in the ordinance that requires it for building anywhere?
No.
So I guess I'm maybe it's just as simple as the thing on your end is just when people come out for building developments and stuff, it's just recommendation from city is include bike racks, and then at least when it comes to, like, we get a site plan.
Yeah, when we see
that's
the site
where
plan, it
you'd be like, you should have someone there. But if you don't, you can require
Because
it
we
from
made
the
that
site plan.
suggestion for Merriman House, and they were like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, we should have it on there. So, but-
How do we put it in the ordinance so somebody doesn't forget?
What about leaving where it is here, but just say every R3 development is required to have a bike rack without any density or size requirement, and leave it up, and just leave it up to the developer to think,
How many he wants to put
how many do I need to put there?
do you want to have any other zoning districts that have at least like a calling out to this, right? You know, I mean,
Like an option to it, or?
I mean, you don't want to put in options to the ordinance, because you
That's
know,
pointless.
what's the point? But, you know, it's one of those things where you know.
It could be something that's, quote, every R3 and institutional district development shall provide a permanent bike rack, period.
That, I think that's probably
That's very
your
good.
best.
Yeah.
Yeah, good,
I
yeah.
like
Just
that.
let them,
Because all the other areas, like Main Street, they have racks and stuff
yeah.
placed and stuff, and I think
Alliance-
even Alliant Energy has.
Alliance Laundry,
Yeah,
it's in their best interest to have a
Yeah.
bike rack, but
Yeah.
we're not going to force them to do it.
Squared away on that one?
Yeah,
Bill?
I like the,
Yeah.
just thinking it through, talking through the, at least one industrial R3.
But who's
like-
gonna put in a bike rack that fits one bike?
Right.
They don't even make those.
No, they really don't.
The smallest I've seen is 4,
Yeah.
so.
Could be a lucrative business if you get ahead of it right now. Start making them, start welding.
Storage. Uh, But I'll kind of work backwards.
Okay, where we're
from,
going?
with you. I guess I'd be attachment 3, permitted conditional uses.
Okay.
You asked me to have a little bit of email correspondence we had about a week and a half ago. Institutional zoning, kind of clean up some of that school, colleges, related facilities. That is,
Yeah, so I think one of the things was, is in the institutional zoning, it doesn't say outright
schools.
school, or college. It says like housing, including dormitories, administrative and faculty offices, which I think
That's sort of curious.
sort of imply, but I just wanted it to be like,
Mhm.
yeah, you could put a school. Because it's classrooms, student unions, museums, meeting
But
and
does-
conference.
But not a school.
But doesn't it, well, it certainly
The first
implies
sentence.
it in the
The
opening
first sentence.
Yeah.
But it's intended, that's not an ordinance requirement, that's.
So take that first sentence and make that bullet point number 1.
Colleges, universities, schools.
Yeah.
Is-
cemeteries.
Does
So-
accommodate, the institutional district does accommodate broad scale development. Make it
So in the chart, it said schools and colleges and related facilities.
We already have the schools and colleges and related facilities
Mhm.
as like conditional uses in other areas. So just putting a permitted use in the, putting a P in institutional for
Makes
those, just,
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, there you
just
go.
was,
Man, who wrote this? Did you write this back then?
You know, we went through a whole, we did this.
He's gonna say
John
all of his
Blazo, John
friends.
Blazo, I assigned him.
Oh, I'll tell John that.
And John, yes, John, he sat for many, many hours.
Two points from my end, and then 2 or 3 things language-wise where I was just like, wanted Lud's opinion, and then that, I think, puts the bow on what I want to chat with y'all. So, next to my 2 things I was going to speak to was, Adam, you had touched base with me tail end of March, said, hey, corner lot setback in residential districts, accessory structure. We got 1 or 2 different places, language and code, there was some challenges. It was giving us a little bit of a challenge with that. I believe it was around that section where I think it's that section A, and there's that line that follows it that says, quote, the setback on corner lot shall be blah, 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 blah. So that's in the spirit of our just chatting on the bike rack stuff. It's, are you saying this is what to do or this is not to do? And that was, it was kind of loosey-goosey, like it wasn't as maybe clearly defined as it could be. And if you're a corner lot in a residential district, do we have that front yard setback on one facade as well as that
So
second
I gotta
facade?
go to my neighbors.
Then
and
you're,
measure and figure
but
out.
then you're
No,
really,
it's,
quote, cutting into your lot, right? Adam's example he bounced off of me was, folks asked, hey, if I wanted to do a greenhouse accessory structure,
on a corner lot.
on a corner lot, what could I do? Code as currently written was saying, well, the front yard, the side, the street yard, 10 technically 3 feet for an accessory thing. So I was saying, I thought to myself, hey, I don't need, quote, the full yard front yard setback on both sides, but that 3 feet is, for lack of a better term, maybe tight. Introduced one new definition, corner lot side yard. What that kind of entails is, hey, you have one, if you're a cornered lot, residential, you have one declared frontage, gotta meet your front yard requirement, that front yard setback. That second frontage is a side yard, she'll have a 15-foot yard setback. Matt, how did you get to that number? Front yard being 25 feet, side yard being 6 feet to a principal structure. 25 plus 6 is 31. Average puts me at about 15 feet. I teed it up that way. Happy to discuss. If you think that is crazy, let me hear it. But,
Where is that written?
that is in my,
Am, can you pull up the other document?
The red line?
Was it in the red line?
it would be in the red line, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Probably best to see if you want to look at that definition to be first in the
It would be
definitions.
R1 or definitions?
It'd be under definitions, so, and it would be probably real close to the top.
It was corner,
Quote, yeah, corner lot, side yard.
Oh, or was it lot corner?
It would have been corner, yeah.
there it is.
Yeah.
So my only concern would be is it's in the definition and not in the actual setback language of the R1 district. So we just have to be clear on that, where it is.
Split up the,
Or we need to define it there, but then put the standard in
Yeah.
the,
We did have, if you want, on kind of our bulk, our standards table.
Yep.
In terms of those
Yep.
setbacks. I did have I had a footnote on there pointing to the definition, referencing the definition.
it just gets really tricky on a corner lot where if the front setback is this, and then we have this whole thing, it can't be the average of the other abutting properties on the other side, so it's like you could have somebody that has this number, but somebody else has a different number based on the fact that they're
Calling it the front yard.
and it's the abutting property. So it's just really, it's really sort of, it's just like, the setback on corner lots shall not be no closer than the average of the setback of the buildings on the lots adjacent to the corner lot.
Yeah. What is that? Yeah, what is
I
it?
think what they're meaning,
that's what
what they're meaning is that you can't take your corner lot principal structure and push it any closer to the orthogonal corner of the street, but
And the other house.
yeah, because it
The
would
average-
stand proud of the other houses when you're looking down the street. But that's not really what it says, because it doesn't
But that's my
have a
whole,
definition.
so then, but then you get to accessory
Yeah,
structures, and then you get to side yards, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so if you only have one side yard, it says it's 6. If you allow a setback there on the side of a corner lot, what do you want to set that to be? And if it is no closer than the neighboring, because there's only one adjacent property on a corner lot behind you, right? Like, it'd be the rear, but then what else is,
Does that property
what is your
actually
rear,
touch that?
what is your rear setback?
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
the other,
The diagonal, the
is
kitty
it the
corner?
back?
I kinda don't have
Your backyard or
Is it
across?
is it the backyard, because it's the front is facing and then you have the
Yeah.
side yard? Or do you have 2 front yards? Like, this is my life sometimes, guys.
And that's why I tried to tee it up
That's your
as
life, yeah.
residential corner lot. You gotta meet that 25-foot standard. There's no averaging, there's no.
You get to
In reality,
But
that's
then
what it
You get to
should.
pick
The other
which
side
one's
is
your
15.
front yard. You get to say which one's your front yard?
What are
Is
your
that what this
driveway?
is?
It should be what your
Driveway.
address is, where the mailbox is your.
Yeah,
front
where
yard.
depend on like the plot of the property, like
Yeah.
where the right of way from the street comes to the land, like,
That's,
does that
What do I
determine the
live
front
on?
yard?
I live on.
you live on a corner.
Woodside or I live on Griswold.
Yeah,
Yes.
what's your front yard look?
Yeah, I know. And Griswold, I don't even know.
Your driveway's on the side yard or the front yard?
He's got a
garage is on
He's got the circle
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
My garage is on Woodside.
Woodside.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
my address is 216 West, which doesn't make any sense anyways.
Then your neighboring property behind you is an apartment, but your actual setback then
Yeah.
would be the average of that, which you're above that, right? You're in front of that apartment
Yeah,
complex.
my physical
So
house.
if you ever had to rebuild your
Yeah,
house, you would have to back your garage.
I was considering it once, and I had to come and get a variance,
Oh.
and I had it but I never did it. So, yeah, it was a discussion at that point in time.
Yeah.
I support the lot owner, the owner picking a
choice.
quote-unquote front
Front yard.
yard because it
That's what you're
allows.
saying.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, but you
that's
can't-
That's what you're
within,
saying.
You can't pick, like if this is the corner,
Yeah.
if this is what you're saying, if this is the lot, the
Yeah,
rectangle
yeah,
lot,
mhm.
typically this would be the front yard. You can't pick this side as the front yard, because where would your setback then? You could be 3 feet to this side. If it's 3 feet away.
I think I'm tracking with you, John. I guess kind of my statement would be,
But you could situate a corner on a corner lot, you could situate your house in such a way that it isn't a clear front and a clear.
which,
I mean, the issue is if you're building a house on a
Yeah.
corner lot.
Yeah.
Because we're not, because all the current houses,
Yeah,
so at that point, you do have the choice to basically put it wherever.
yeah.
Yeah, you could turn it the other
You
way.
can angle it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, why couldn't?
But
Could you angle it?
Yeah, you could angle.
your,
But then is that the front yard, or where's the front yard? Like,
here's, okay, so we can, the proposed definition, right? We have, I use pens, we have right-of-way, street right-of-ways. It calls out frontage, which to me indicates, and there's probably a real definition for that you guys should know. But to me, frontage indicates the street facing lot line. Okay, right? You shall state one frontage as the front yard. So you pick one or the
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
And then that has the greater setback.
Yeah.
25 feet.
The 25-foot
Yeah.
greater setback standard. And then the other one is the lower 15 feet setback standard.
Yeah.
So,
And
I'm
does that-
comfortable with it.
Does that apply to accessory structures then as well?
I would say yes.
Okay.
I would keep it cleaner
Yeah.
in the
Yeah, yeah.
context of
Yeah.
corner lot, because otherwise I'm
So
butting
the
up against
biggest-
a challenge.
The biggest thing is
Yeah.
like, because a corner lot,
You can you can ask for a variance.
well, yeah, but the accessory structure thing is how close do you want an accessory structure
To
or a fence or something to the sidewalk? Because a lot of times there's that sidewalk there or the side yard then, right? So you don't want it backed off a little bit, or else you'll have like a greenhouse floating in somebody's second.
The other
front-
person's
it'll-
front yard.
Yeah,
basically.
no, that's,
Yeah,
it'll look,
yeah, because it comes
it'll
to this
look
side
really,
where this
Like if
house is.
anything, if you want someone who's gonna put a greenhouse, you want them to put it the farthest corner away from
Yeah.
the street.
put it in your backyard, which is.
Yeah.
Or just
Yeah.
right outside the
And
car.
quite honestly, some of your language with regards to vision corner and safety might,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Might
that's what
come
I'm
into
against
play
that as
for
well.
that.
yeah.
I think this 25-15 works.
Yeah.
I do, personally, that's just my take.
clean.
It's
And
clean,
then,
right.
and those that
You
set-
declare
that
that's the
setback
one.
works for like, just like lot sizes that,
Yeah.
for any corner lot that even exists in
Generally,
the
yeah.
city at this point. Okay.
And this is why you don't buy a corner lot?
They're building one right now in Sandbar, and now I gotta go check the setbacks. I think they chose the front yard as the one on Sandbar.
They set some of their own setbacks out there.
I didn't see.
They did set some like on the plots or the like they're like, here's the setback lines on that. So
So I can still build a diagonal house on a corner.
That's what I'm doing.
Octagonal, that's the way we
Think
do
about
it.
it.
I build it.
what else do we have?
Last thing I was explicitly going to speak to, based on Adam, what you had emailed me about in terms of driveway stuff. There were one or two. This is the second of my two things where I'm like, boom, want to speak to what you had brought up with me as a concern in the email. There were one or two things that were language elsewhere. There's a clause that has a circular logic. Maybe we tackle
What is
this
it?
one. I think we can bang it out real quick because I think Lund can give me a quick opinion on it. If you just look up in terms of search, I'll give you the number and I'll.
What is, I got my computer over there because battery died.
Gotcha.
What do we got?
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
It's section 204673. under floodplain.
Under floodplain?
Yeah, I know you wouldn't be
Well,
happy to
you
hear
go
that.
there.
Don't touch the flood.
2046, 73.
73?
Oh, 73.
Correct.
It's gonna be.
Yep, you're right there.
All right.
So, my concern, Lud, is this 2A, the boarding zone,
Zoning Board of Appeals. Yeah.
yep. I felt like within that clause, there maybe was a little circular logic there, or it was kind of, you're describing the thing or the body, and then, I don't know, the flow or just what it was saying felt weird to me.
The
'Cause
Board
you're-
of Zoning Appeals shall not grant variances to the terms of the ordinance in place of action by the Board of Adjustment.
Am I
Can't say the
confusing?
same thing.
Am I confusing everyone
Yeah.
else? Because that'd be intentional,
Well,
because
who's the Board of Adjustment?
Right,
you're
who's the
you're
Board of
referring to
Adjustment? It's gotta be the
yourself,
Board of
right?
Adjustment.
Is this language that was written by the DNR?
Yeah.
No, that's what it is.
Does the DNR have a board of adjustment?
Well, like county stuff would be, sometimes it's board of adjustment.
Yeah, where is that at?
I don't.
Just leave it.
I didn't ask.
I bring it up,
Just-
Adam,
it's
Adam, if
fine.
you want to, I
Because the-
I have a contact, I wouldn't name drop municipality, but I'd say, hey, like, it probably is your, like, I think you referenced it being template language from DNR.
Absolutely
Yeah.
is.
Clarifier on that, I can reach out, I
Yeah,
can CC
yeah,
you on that
yeah.
one.
But the way I read that is, whatever this board of adjustments is
Yeah,
the only one that can grant a variance.
which is different than the
Zoning appeals cannot.
Is it in the definitions?
Well, it makes sense because it's in a floodplain and the DNR does all that.
And what is the Board of
Well,
Adjustment?
actually, we do.
We do?
We have to manage it all.
Yeah, DNR just likes to have their fingers on everything, but then they don't do anything with it.
Oh, it's-
Yeah.
Can't do anything to help.
If anything, they cause more issues when you're trying to solve something.
So on that one, wanted to flag it, I can,
There is no board.
There's no Board of Adjustment.
Adjustments. Well, this is historic preservation now, too.
Oh,
I
when
can.
you get out of zone, you get out of floodplain.
Went too far, lad.
Oh, okay.
Here.
There we go.
I don't even know if there are definitions in it.
Probably not.
I really love when the Wisconsin statutes reference PDFs in the
There's
statute.
nothing.
And you're like,
Yeah, so
Alright.
run it by your contact.
I could run it by your contact.
Because it does
Yeah,
read
it's
weird.
Question, do y'all want me to BCC?
Whatever.
You want it?
No, it's fine.
Yeah, well,
Or I'll just peer and then
Just
disseminate,
find
alright?
some clarification and.
That other second thing where I was kinda like, oh, that's kind of, I think it should maybe say something else, but it might be under your wellhead protection. The section 20,
We're not touching that one.
20, 50, 20.
Don't touch that one either.
Okay. I think it quote references, city council, and I think maybe it should say Board of Appeals, because it's considering variance stuff in that section. I don't know, that's why I
don't
brought
think
it
we're
up.
we're not touching the wellhead ordinance, I don't.
No, I wouldn't touch it, and I wouldn't
Yeah,
leave,
we wouldn't.
I wouldn't leave anything
Zoning Board of
up to the
Appeals.
zoning board
Board
of
of
appeals
Appeals.
regarding wellhead protection
Yeah.
area.
Even with regards to.
So then maybe, does it say city council?
Yeah.
It
Yeah, then
does
leave
say-
it. Then-
Okay.
Because if we ever ran into something,
It
where
would go to the
somebody had
council,
a legitimate
Okay.
beef, we'd want to address it at the council level.
Gotcha, yeah. Just wanted to,
Yep, leave it.
clues to the puzzle. All right, final, the final thing that I got was, with regards to quote driveway access standards, I know your DPW had a
Where's that one?
discussion with, I'm gonna take you all the way back to the beginning of the party, definitions. I took a stab at a driveway definition, and then in one of the attachments, I took a stab at quote driveway quantity and distance between driveway facilities. I guess my comment on that stuff, Adam, would be, I see it's in your Title 15,
Yes.
and I know that there was reference from my, kind of the string that you and I had together is, there's conception or thought about, you know, maybe updating that title, that chapter of the code, outside of the zoning code. But, you know, I think the handful of the concerns that maybe that were brought up in that context were, you have some standards of language to that already in chapter 15.
Mhm.
And obviously, as we know from our fun with zoning code, hey, if you want to change the zoning code, you're gonna review, right? But then you're gonna have a public hearing on it, and you're gonna notice it, and you're gonna, and you know, in that context, I was like, hey, I think maybe the framework of what you have in that chapter 15 is good. I'm just providing the 2 or 3 breadcrumbs in the zoning code here, definition-wise, in 1 or 2 things in one of the charts to kind of point folks that way. Like, hey, look at chapter 15 for some of that criteria. Curb cuts, the openings, and so on.
So, and we were, I don't know if we were talking about moving it into the zoning code or not, but we need to look at the driveway access, section 15, in terms of width of driveways and number of driveways. They're just, it hasn't been updated with time to the general size of houses.
3-car garage.
3-car garage.
Example.
The ability to have a,
Those people are doing.
yeah, they're really,
Mhm.
and there's also like discretion that pretty much is like, we don't have really a standard, so.
So there's nothing in the code that says it's minimum of,
Well, it does, but.
but you
then
can't exceed this.
You can't exceed, but it's like.
So that's where we're getting this
Yeah.
funny angle and all.
But we're a lot of times just saying, if you, I can't remember what I have to look at it, I'm sorry.
And does Alan handles those,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He doesn't need hassles like that, does he?
Well, but that's why we're talking about it.
Yeah.
We need to clean it up
Yeah.
one way or the other.
Okay.
And he had some suggestions, and I just kind of forwarded all of it to you and said, you know, because it is.
And I think maybe it's worth it could be a further touch point with
Yeah.
Alan, you and me
Yeah.
perhaps. I just wanted to tee up, like, at least in the context of the zoning code. Here's here's kind of a 1-sentence definition, and then it might be on my bulk standards chart, or it might be kind of the off-street parking, speaking to it. There are bits and pieces of the zoning code that kind of implicitly speak to some of the driveway stuff already. Your pavement is to be an asphalt or concrete surface, for example. Adam referenced with me, he said, hey, here's an interesting one. Besides just a 3-car garage, you know, more folks doing either a duplex or like a 0 lot line product. We got two homes sharing the lot line. We got 2-car garages right next to each other. And then you're talking about, okay, where's the, you know, that curb cut, where then that driveway apron to meet the street. If a standard is 20 feet in that chapter 15, I think that is it. 20 feet, do you have a little 1-foot nub that goes up and then it's 20 feet again? You know, I don't want to get in the weeds with it, but you know, it was obviously important in context.
Class 1 driveways, Class 2 driveways, Class 3 driveways. And it defines driveways, and then it's permit required, and then driveway conditions and criteria. And here's a nice chart.
And that's where, truthfully, I was kind of,
So Class 1 maximum is 20, with permitted curb cut is 25. So it's just not great.
but I also didn't, I didn't want to needlessly replicate, right? I mean, it was kind of challenging for me to say, well, you know, in Title 15, there are a couple of charts here that kind of outline some of this information already.
Yeah.
I don't want to, you know, rock the boat partially, for lack of a better term. So, that was kind of context. John?
Are we opposed to, say, a 20-foot curb cut and then you have to widen it out? I mean, I don't like seeing a large concrete driveway and it looks like an airport either, you know,
Yeah.
and then it also takes up parking places and on the street.
So
I'm
it
just
says
wondering if
unusual,
we-
the public works is authorized to grant in writing variances from the strict application of driveway conditions and criteria provided to determine the conditions are whatever, right? So you're basically saying here's the standard, but
But you can do what
if you have an unusual condition, like, you built a 30-car garage and you want to go to 28 feet,
Yeah.
right?
Do we want that though? I mean, is that something we should look at do we want to
I know.
allow a 28-foot curb cut?
I know in one or two other of my client communities that that driveway width is very similar to what you already have in
Mhm.
language, 20, 25, 28
Yeah.
feet. I think that example of a zero lot line duplex, two-car garages right next to each other, that, maybe we can hash that out a little bit more, but, you know, I wanted to have a little bit more meat on the bone in the zoning code and kind of point to that chapter 15.
I think you point back to 15, and if you want to
Change
it, let's change 15. You know, I think pointing back to it is a good idea.
I've got a question. Do we restrict the size of a garage opening in any of the R zones?
No, I do not believe so.
And that point, if you go on Coombe Street, that house is sided with black siding or dark siding. That's got a 4-car garage.
Mhm.
And what he did, he poured all the way in front of all 4 cars, came out about 6 or 8 feet on the 4th and 3rd, and stopped his concrete.
Mhm.
I mean, it looks weird. And if he would pour that all the way down,
Yeah. it would be-
that's gotta be
Yeah.
36 feet
Well,
or
and I don't think we
whatever.
would go to that, we wouldn't go that far,
Right.
right? But 20 feet,
20 feet would be, to me, would be enough, would be max. And then widen it out or whatever.
I think there's a little bit of a paradox in terms of do we allow a wider curb, you know, a wider curb cut? Because I think kind of the irony there is, if you say, okay, that curb cut, that driveway width when you're touching the street proper can be wider, then you're kind of introducing, okay, you know, you private resident, your private property can have more vehicles on that property. Okay. Obviously, all else being equal, if I'm not kicking in because I have to have a smaller curb cut, if I'm kicking that out, I'm reducing that linear frontage on the street for parallel parking. And obviously, you know, you have a historic core, you have, you know, historic areas, more classic development pattern in a lot of neighborhoods. I don't know to the extent, Adam, you've seen it, of the house, whatever age is taken down and the McMansion is put in its place.
Very little,
Is
but,
that just kind of a very crudely simplified example of, in that context, maybe one of your more traditional neighborhoods, house comes down, new house goes up, that kind of width, that kind of curb cut. And the sidewalk obviously going across it though, too, you know. How do folks feel comfort-wise with that?
Typically with the older houses, the garages are further back on the property. They're not at the front of the house like a new house is almost always at the front line of the house. So they have more room to widen the driveway. The new house has a depth of a car to widen the driveway, and there's no way to do it.
So, chatting about that, if it's something where y'all are like, hey, Matt, chat with Adam and
I can
Alan Moore.
talk to Alan a little bit more about it, it's just,
It's pretty open, it's an open definition there. It's changed with, you know.
But hopefully we have, at all times, a director of public works that will say, this is just completely unreasonable, no, you can't do it. Or, you have no other choice, here's your permit.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's some changes to be made. I agree with what Lud said a while ago, which is use the definition in 15 as the definition for zoning, just so it's kind of broken out. But I wonder if there's some way to have a maximum curb cut based on the opening width. And I don't, I'm just thinking this through. You have, and then you go to duplexes or zero lot line, you know, if you give it like a 1 foot or 2 foot allowance outside of that opening width, and you overlap inherently, those two driveways can overlap, but then you still within that have a maximum continuous curb cut of some amount that we have there.
I bet a function of when you see a zero lot line duplex and it does the little dimple in between.
Mhm.
I don't know for a fact, I'm just feeling it out. I bet that's just a function of
Somebody said this is
that
the
delineation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Of,
that's
hey,
right.
here's,
Yeah, that's mine.
or there might be a pin.
But
you know, but-
if you're reasonable when you're interpreting that curb cut, say, the duplex, I have a 20-foot curb cut on this house, a 20-foot curb cut on this house, just because they're level in the middle, it's still 2 curb cuts. I mean, why make them put that dimple in?
But then to the point of not trying to preempt any of the street parking or preempt some of the sidewalk space, if there's maximums that are it's a continuous curb opening maximum, that prevents some of the discussion of, oh, you have a 4 or 5 car garage where you're just cutting
Yeah.
through.
Mark, I think the kind of the end line of your commentary in terms of, hey, this conception of space to space, right? That, hey, the garage door opening and the kind of that proxy by curb cut. I think it's probably pretty close already, just in the context of that usual double. The usual double door is 16 feet. I think a lot of the standard sizes are that. So and we're at 20 feet right now. I think that's
It's kind of
pretty close. I don't know if too many doors
Go
wider
much wider
than
than
that.
that.
But, you know, we do see, I mean, there, in some resort communities or in some condominium develops, there's the massive overhead door, because people can do like the RV parking.
No, we
Then
have-
there's the
one of
normal
those
stall
on
next to
Fifth
it.
Street,
And I don't want to go in the
Yep.
weeds on that, but it's just like, hey, it happens, and you know, some of those developments, you see them sometimes, and,
Yeah, Faith Street one's interesting.
And most of the houses up on the hill there are, you know, they have 3-car garages.
yeah.
And I mean, they're just big.
There's also not like really like a public parking concern up there.
No,
Because
not at all.
the only reason to be parking up there is if you're visiting. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's
I think
also
people are
some-
just asking for a little bit wider, a little more room,
Yeah.
so, so anyway, we can look at it a little bit more, but yeah, so it wasn't a huge thing, we just, Alan was kind of like, this is a pain, so.
so.
So Alan's saying he's getting requests for too many variances to it?
Well, I think there's,
They're just asking
it's
for
just,
whatever.
it's like, okay, I want it, you know, I can go to this, but I'm adding a half, or another car garage, can I go to this? Yeah, fine, right, like.
Yeah.
So that was what I wanted to run through with y'all. Kind of chatting with Adam before the meeting. Next step is you see fit a recommendation of the code as presented to go along to council. We'll need to do class 2 noticing for public hearing.
One thing you'd mentioned at the last meeting was whether we wanted to limit allowable uses in, say, the B1 or B2. There are some concerning business types that are not currently restricted.
I did change those. Adam, if you want to go to page, let me scroll.
Attachment 3, is it?
Attachment 3, correct. It would be on that page 3 of 5, kind of right in the heart there. There's some that we had chatted about, and to boil it down, people were like, yeah, absolutely not. So, pawn shops, check cashing, adult entertainment, adult bookstores, B2 highway, conditional down the run, as well as in the industrial districts, conditional. Because I had those,
Okay.
this permitted earlier. I didn't want that, so.
And not allowed at all in B1.
Correct.
Okay.
Because I believe, refresh me, gentlemen from downtown at our April meet, or at
Can
our
we remove
November
Can we
meeting.
remove it from industrial and just keep it in light industrial and B2? Well, I don't even know if we want to. Well,
Where do we have in town that's light industrial?
that's the point.
We don't have it.
Wasn't that supposed to be the business?
We don't
park?
currently have anything zoned light industrial.
Yeah, I'm just. These would be conditional uses in B2 highway condition. I'm saying like the adult orientated establishments, could we theoretically Just
Oh,
have that
light
in
industrial?
light industrial as a conditional use.
Since we don't have any light industrial.
I'm just thinking.
No, I get it.
The city owns,
I'm with Adam on that, for sure.
I mean, pawn shops, check cashing, different, but the adult stuff, I think, push it to light industrial, conditional use.
Adult and I3 is a conditional?
I'm okay with that, but can we legally do it if we
If
don't
we
have
don't have
anything
the zone.
zoned that way?
You can't do it if you don't have the zone.
Well, it's in the,
We don't have the zone,
people can apply to be in the zone, they can have it rezoned.
it's in the code.
Yeah.
I3 is an
I3
existing
is in the
district in the
zone.
code.
It is
in
an
the
existing
code.
district in the code.
We
yeah.
just don't have anything currently zoned that way.
Yeah, that's fine,
Okay.
as long as it's available.
Yeah,
It's there.
yeah.
It's the
Yes,
door's
we
cracked
need-
thing.
Yes, that's what we should do.
We heard it's, we're gonna rezone this house on Woodside and Griswold. It's 2 driveways.
There's just some very public-facing industrial, and with the.
Like on the way into town.
Yeah, right when you come in.
The conditional use is not that hard to.
To get, it's hard to deny. Yeah. Go for it until we get called up. We were called up. We had that.
Oh, you had something in downtown.
Yeah. We had issues.
Well, and I think that was the gentleman from the downtown group in our November meeting was, hey, I really don't want you to, that kind of precipitated, so.
Yeah, that's correct.
But,
Use for sure.
Yeah, I think, so we'll kind of wrap it up into a final zoning code package. We'll send it all out to everybody. I think next step would be either one more review or move toward a public hearing to review everything with a recommendation to then the common
Public
council.
hearing gonna be here or at the council?
Here, I believe, is from a zoning,
Yeah, that's fine.
like we
It's
just
fine.
did with,
Yeah,
that's
that's
the
fine.
process.
do you require motion or any action on things tonight, Adam, or is our kind of our context?
I'd say bring it back one more time packaged
Okay.
to set, you know, the next plan commission and then we go from there.
Would that next plan commission, we tee it up where that hearing occurs at that meeting as well?
The public hearing? Would you,
I think let's get it packaged first. Let's get
Review
one
it-
more kick at
Review
it.
it one more time.
This is
before
the
we-
document that we're going to take to public hearing
Yeah.
so that everybody here can defend it,
Gotcha. Okay.
or at least
It-
be
I don't think-
knowledgeable.
I don't think it hurts to put it in a packaged
Yeah,
product
yeah, this
and
is
just
the
say,
product.
doesn't hurt.
Exactly.
Okay.
to take that extra step.
And we did have a handful of things to
Yeah, just
touch
kind
up
of,
on still, and the driveway stuff,
Yep.
so.
yeah,
Okay.
referencing 15, I think is the way to handle it.
All right.
Next time.
Any project updates,
No, I have nothing more.
future agenda items, more of this?
More of this.
More than-
I move to adjourn.
All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?